the next speaker is already here. Yeah.
Nee, ik bedoel die switch. Wat was het ook weer?
Let me already introduce Michael a little bit. Michael is a decolonial activist and co-founder of the Majority Perspective Foundation. And for this occasion he will talk about his findings, about what he found in the Dutch archive here in The Hague regarding the 4.5 billion payments from Indonesia to the Netherlands. I think that's, you have a lot to tell, so I will keep it very short. Enjoy the presentation.
Hello. This presentation is a shortened version of a more detailed and bigger presentation that our head of board Krista is going to give at Michigan University. So we do not have time to talk about everything. Because we cannot talk about everything, we published some documents that I will address. We published them online. Actually, they were published, but something went wrong. We didn't bring our laptop, but as soon as we come home, we will publish them again. You can find it there, because these other documents are also really groundbreaking. And not to lose the focus on the stuff that we want to show you, we decided not to show them in this presentation. Control and up top. So.
It's one of the research questions that comes up when you're trying to get the general picture of the economic history of the conflict.
So you did not research it yet, you mean? Or?
There's lots of publications on this issue, and we will certainly weigh them in. For instance, if you're discussing the Marshall Plan impact.
I'm just talking about, did Indonesia pay part of this 4.5 billion? That's not a hard question.
Well, it's a very hard question because there are several answers are possible.
Well, there's only one answer possible because we found the proof
yes,
for this.
But there
are. First, I need to tell a little bit about the situation there. This was at NIOD during a round table discussion we had. And we, as all the people that objected against the research, NIOD, KTLV, and NIMH are conducting for the state. And it was a very racist situation. You can hear, obviously, that I'm really frustrated. I was also the last one to talk, so there was 2 hours of frustration built up. But I want to show this. I wanted to show that video because it clearly shows how people that claim that they have expertise in this subject don't even know the answer to the question whether Indonesia paid part of the RTC claims or not. And to show you more about the confusion there was in the Netherlands, there's, for example, this an article published in the Groene Amsterdammer by Lambert Giebels. He's a journalist. And I didn't show the whole article again because it will distract. But there's this claim. He says that the Dutch collective memory holds the idea that Sukarno's Indonesia refused to pay its debt. The collective memory, however, forgets that when Indonesia stopped their payments in '56, that the remaining debt was 650 million guilders. That means that they almost paid more, about 4 billion to the Netherlands in that period. This is one of the claims. And at the same time, there's this other claim from a journalist and writer of the book Opgevangen aan Dijvelig. For that book, she did a lot of research, and she actually says that Sukarno flat out refused to pay this. she was actually so sure that for us suggesting that Indonesia paid, we were called amateur club, and well, she wasn't that friendly, but that's also not where I want to put the focus on. But it shows that there's also confusion with her, at her. This was actually also the reason why we started to do this research, because it triggered us. Like, Marjolein actually helped with the research. Christa and Rogier also helped with researching. And Marjolein gave us some footnotes from, I think, from books you read. And with those footnotes, we went to the National Archive. And actually, we got stuck there. But thanks to Marjolein, she had a footnote that was a bit similar to what we looked for. And the librarian actually came with a book written by the grandfather of Thierry Baudet. And with the footnote, with the exact location of this document. And it is correspondence between DBI, it's department, sorry, the DBI department that is about economics, and the main organization. Actually, DBI means I don't want to explain it because this no longer exists. But it's sort of the organization that is responsible for all the stuff that needed to be arranged after decolonization. I'm not going to show you the whole document specifically because it will distract again, but we highlighted some important things. It clearly says that Indonesia paid. It's highlighted, says the current state of the Indonesian debts that were taken over at the RTC currently is 640 million. That means when you take the begin amount from 4.5 billion, that means that Indonesia paid 3,860 million guilders in that period. And that's about the same amount as the whole Marshall help the Netherlands received. So this is actually proof that they paid, and actually they specify it. Although it is corrected, but they used to say 820, but they corrected it to 880. Another remarkable thing in this document is the document is actually about one department warning the Netherlands for there were rumors that Indonesia wanted to nationalize Dutch companies because Indonesia found out that through these payments they paid 1.5 billion too much to the Netherlands, and this is actually a warning, the whole document, that hey, they are planning this and this and this, and there's nothing we can do about it. Plus the argumentation Indonesia had. And there's also this part that is specifically about the 2 billion that the Netherlands claimed in RTC for the police actions, which Indonesia, of course, flat out refused. And the mediator from the US, Cochrane, also dismissed this 2 billion. And here they discuss about how they came up with this 2 billion they claimed at the RTC. And it says actually, according to us, the Netherlands, the police actions only costed 700 million. How they came up with the remaining amount is unknown. Seemingly, a person named Hirschfeld came up with the idea to claim extra claims during RTC, and those extra claims were actually the claims that they thought would not make it through negotiation. So they claimed stuff twice, which is fraud, which is theft. And actually they claimed 1.3 billion guilders too much. That was the beginning, or the initial amount everything started with. So every calculation, every story about payments is actually starting from too high amount, from 1.3 billion. This is money the Netherlands stole. And actually, I will come up with some different examples how they really wanted to steal this money, because I tried to re-steal it again. First I want to tell you who Hirschfeld was. Hirschfeld was during the Second World War. He was the Secretary General of Economic Affairs, and he actually got very famous in the Netherlands then, because he came up with the guidelines that the Dutch companies should cooperate with the Nazi regime. The Netherlands also claim that they suffered a lot during the Second World War. Well, not on economic, not in the economic part, because the Dutch economy grew during the Second World War, and that's because Hirschfeld made up the policy that Dutch companies should cooperate with Nazis, with fascism. Actually, he got accused also of collaboration, because he spoke out against February strikes. He said it was a bad idea, people should not go on strike, and after the Second World War, he was also dishonorably discharged because of these accusations. Although he fought that in court at the High Council, and they actually said that he was right. He wasn't a collaborator. How they came up with that is, for me, not hard to grasp. But anyway, he quit himself, honorable discharge this time, and actually the Netherlands contacted him again, especially for overseeing this RTC treaty. And so the Netherlands not only recycled fascist soldiers to go to Dutch Indonesia. They also did this with the high people that work at the high ministries and all. And he actually, because he got reinstated because there were no other people with the experience. That's the same excuse they use to send out these SS soldiers to the police actions. Also, he became the person that overlooked the distribution of the Marshall Loans. So this person really was a really important for Dutch history, actually. This will actually this concerns the documents that we did not show. If you want to know more about this, then you should go to the website and all, and you can download them. But we found also evidence in this archive that the Netherlands used the money that Indonesia reclaimed, because Indonesia reclaimed this money by nationalizing companies. The 1.5 billion that they thought they calculated that they paid too much. And the Netherlands actually started a trade embargo and put a lot of international pressure on other countries like the United States not to go into trade with Indonesia. And even worse, during the economic situation there, with famine, and the Dutch actually went to countries and said, hey, you should not offer aid to countries that have debts, that do not pay their debts. Well, these weren't debts, this was money Indonesia claimed back. So this is one of the ways they tried to re-steal the money that Indonesia claimed back. But they did the same at Wassenaar Treaty. About Wassenaar Treaty, there is not much documented, but we do know, and we also found, that the Netherlands tried to re-steal it through the Wassenaar Treaty, because first the Wassenaar Treaty was 4.5 billion, and in the end it was 650 million that remained of that claim. And they say that it was Dutch generosity. Well, we found that it was not Dutch generosity. It was just, the parties at the treaty, they knew what the Netherlands were up to, and they said, we are not going to do this. So the whole amount was lowered to 650 million. That is where this Luns quote from it was Dutch generosity came from. It was just a smoke screen. And I see Marjolein standing there, so I have to finish. But the last part is we also found a lot of documents. We put the Lingajati Treaty next to the RTC Treaty, and they're actually almost the same. And the only thing that is different between them is that in between there were these military campaigns, which hundreds of thousands of people died. And we wanted to NIOD to research how this stolen money contributed to the agressie militaire belangen, actually. And that's the part that I really wanted to go further into detail, but I think if there are researchers here that will jump on this, because this is really important for the history, I think, for our colonial history. It was a really shortened presentation, and I hope that's clear that the implications of our findings, and we will make sure that before today ends, that we will put it online again. So.
Thank you.